U.S. President Donald Trump held high-stakes talks with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing, where the two agreed that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open and reaffirmed that Iran must never obtain nuclear weapons. A senior South Korean government official said Thursday that it appears unlikely that a non-Iranian actor was behind last week's attack on a South Korean-operated vessel in the Strait of Hormuz, while emphasizing that the investigation remains ongoing. Korea's ICT exports posted their sharpest ever growth last month, fueled by soaring semiconductor shipments amid the ongoing AI boom. We begin in Beijing, where U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have kicked off a two-day summit amid tensions over trade and Taiwan. The two leaders wrapped up the opening day of talks with a shared message that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open and that Iran can never possess nuclear weapons. Our Moon Hae-ryun starts us off.
The United States and China have agreed that the Strait of Hormuz must remain open to allow the free flow of energy transportation, the White House said Thursday, after U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping wrapped up their first round of talks in Beijing that officials described as good. The agreement on the critical oil thoroughfare was among the most concrete outcomes of the summit. Washington says Xi had also expressed opposition to any militarization of the strait or attempts to charge a toll for its use, and signaled interest in purchasing more American oil to reduce China's dependence on the Middle East. Iran, which relies heavily on Chinese demand for its oil exports, had been a central item on Trump's agenda, though it remains unclear whether Xi agreed to take a more active role in bringing the conflict to an end. The two sides also reportedly discussed fentanyl, market access for U.S. companies in China, Trump's push to increase Chinese investment in the United States, and its purchase of American farm products. The talks were also shadowed by a blunt warning from Xi on Taiwan. Speaking at the Great Hall of the People on Thursday morning, the Chinese leader called it the most critical issue in the bilateral relationship, cautioning that if mishandled, the two countries could collide or even clash, putting relations in an extremely dangerous place. Xi otherwise struck a conciliatory tone, invoking the Thucydides trap, the idea that a rising and an incumbent power are historically prone to conflict, and urging both sides to forge a new path together. Trump had arrived in Beijing earlier to a formal welcome, with Xi greeting him personally outside the Great Hall before the two walked past an honor guard.
A stable China-U.S. relationship benefits the entire world. When we cooperate, both sides benefit. When we confront each other, both sides suffer.
But it's an honor to be with you. It's an honor to be your friend, and the relationship between China and the USA is going to be better than ever before. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Their closed-door session lasted roughly 2 hours, twice the originally scheduled length, and Trump, speaking to reporters afterwards, described it simply as great. The two leaders then toured the nearby Temple of Heaven together. Beijing said the two sides also exchanged views on the Ukraine crisis and the situation on the Korean Peninsula, without disclosing details. Trump is due for a second day of talks scheduled for Friday. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
South Korea believes that there is a little possibility of a non-Iranian actor being behind the attack on the HMM Namu in the Strait of Hormuz on May 4th. And Foreign Minister Cho Hyun later added that attacks on Korea's civilian vessels can never be justified. Cha Yoon-kyung reports.
The government believes that Iran was behind the attack on a South Korean-operated vessel, the HMM Namu, in the Strait of Hormuz on May 4th. A senior official said Thursday that the government is gathering evidence related to the strike on the cargo vessel. He noted that the possibility of another actor besides Iran cannot be ruled out. However, common sense suggests this is unlikely since there were no pirates nearby. The official cautioned that Seoul has not yet formally confirmed the result yet, emphasizing that any conclusion regarding Iranian involvement would depend on the outcome of an ongoing probe assisted by the U.S. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun said Thursday that attacks on civilian vessels, including the HMM Namu, can never be justified or tolerated under any circumstances. Cho added that an additional government-level investigation into the attack on the HMM Namu will be conducted. He said necessary response measures will be taken accordingly, continuing that the government will make an effort to cooperate with related countries amid heightened geopolitical uncertainties. The Ministry of National Defense announced Thursday that it had sent a technical analysis team to Dubai to determine the cause and conduct a scientific analysis of the attack on the HMM Namu. The ministry said it will support the activities of the government joint response team by conducting a thorough on-site investigation, analyzing evidence to confirm the exact facts. The ministry added that the number of personnel dispatched and details of their activities would not be disclosed to ensure smooth investigative activities. 차윤경, Arirang News.
As South Korea nears its one-year mark of the Lee Jae-myung administration, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun highlighted some of the government's key achievements and priorities. Our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Seung has the details.
Seoul is expanding its diplomatic outreach to a broader range of strategic partners, working to stabilize the global order and economy amid a time of conflict and uncertainty. Speaking to reporters Thursday, Foreign Minister Cho Hyun reflected on the Lee Jae-myung administration's first year of pragmatic diplomacy. He said President Lee has moved quickly on the multilateral stage, attending the Group of Seven meeting, the United Nations General Assembly, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and G20 summits, on top of hosting last year's Asia-Pacific Economic Forum in Gyeongju. Cho then turned to Seoul's major bilateral relationships, beginning with the alliance with the United States. Cho said Presidents Lee and Donald Trump had completed reciprocal visits in record time and produced a joint fact sheet last year, which covers their tariff agreement and cooperation in strategic security sectors. Cho said the bilateral understanding has opened a path towards introducing nuclear-powered submarines and securing enrichment and reprocessing capabilities for peaceful purposes. On relations with China, Cho said Seoul-Beijing ties have been fully restored through reciprocal state visits, including the Chinese president's first state visit to Korea in 11 years. He also cited recent talks on supply chain cooperation, covering key minerals, rare earths and urea. With Japan, the minister said Seoul and Tokyo swiftly revived top-level reciprocal visits, or the so-called shuttle diplomacy, and deepened future-oriented cooperation in areas including artificial intelligence, advanced technologies and supply chains. He also noted their first-ever 2+2 meeting of foreign and defence vice ministers. Going forward, Cho said Seoul is now expanding the strategic horizons of its diplomacy by strengthening ties with the Global South, Europe, the Indo-Pacific and ASEAN. He pointed to next month's Korea-Africa Foreign Ministers meeting in Seoul, involving 54 African countries and 4 international organizations. The first Korea-Central Asia Summit is also set for September in Seoul. Cho cited the growing importance of Central Asia amid energy and supply chain pressures from the Middle East crisis. On that note, the minister said Seoul would continue working with major countries to uphold freedom of navigation and protect Korean crew members and vessels. Looking ahead, Minister Cho said that Korea will contribute to reducing global economic imbalances and reforming international partnerships while upholding universal values including peace, international norms and human rights. Oh Seung, Arirang News.
The combat-ready KF-21, South Korea's homegrown fighter jet, has entered a mass production in Sacheon city and is set for deployment with the Republic of Korea Air Force. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung got a sneak peek of the production site.
The KF-21, a South Korean-made 4.5 generation supersonic fighter. At this site in Sacheon, Gyeongsangnam-do province, around 20 KF-21 fighter jets are currently being assembled. The KF-21 Borame was first envisioned by then-President Kim Dae-jung in 2001, who dreamed of developing an advanced, domestically built fighter jet. The program officially entered the development phase in December 2015, and then underwent 5 years of ground testing from 2021 until February this year. During the testing, the jet completed more than 1,600 test flights without a single accident and passed roughly 13,000 test conditions.
This homegrown KF-21 fighter jet is being prepared for its flight test. After more than 10 years in development, South Korea plans to deliver the first mass-produced aircraft to the Air Force in September.
The CEO of Korea Aerospace Industries underlined how despite initial doubts from the likes of Lockheed Martin, the country was able to make the development a success. Now he dreams of exporting hopefully up to 1,000 jets, with already around 200 potential export orders. As Korea becomes the 8th country to produce its own supersonic jet fighters, the KF-21 is also expected to greatly boost the K-defense industry as a whole.
The introduction of South Korea's independently developed KF-21 will go beyond replacing aging fighters like F-4 and F-5. It will open up a new era of self-reliant defense and be a starting point of a stronger military defense industry ecosystem.
With the Air Force Chief of Staff having promised to bring forward the F-5's retirement from 2030 to 2027, KF-21 is soon to become one of the Air Force's core assets. 김보경, Arirang News, Sacheon.
Korea's economy is seeing a massive boost, driven largely by a historic boom in the technology sector. Not only have information and communication technology exports reached an all-time high, but the semiconductor supercycle is also helping to rapidly improve the government's fiscal health. Joining me in the studio to break down these numbers and the broader implications is our business and economy correspondent, Kim Do-yeon. Welcome, Do-yeon.
Good to be here.
So, Do-yeon, let's start with the export data. April was a milestone month for the tech sector. Tell us about the latest export data.
That's right. ICT exports logged its highest growth rate in history last month. Now, export volume reached $42.71 billion, which is a 125.9% surge compared to the same month last year. This marks the first time ICT exports have surpassed the $40 billion mark for 2 consecutive months. The semiconductor sector is doing the heavy lifting, skyrocketing 173.3% on year. The global tech industry is racing to build artificial intelligence infrastructure, creating a severe bottleneck for high-performance memory chips. Here is what one industry expert had to say about this momentum.
The reason the ICT exports are hitting all-time highs right now is the supply shortage in memory chip exports, which is driving prices incredibly high. Because of this, it's very likely we will break records again next month.
And we're already seeing this spill over into the computer and peripheral devices sector, which saw a staggering 430% export increase, heavily influenced by the AI-driven demand for solid-state drives.
It's interesting how this industrial boom is directly translating into a national treasury. Now, the government's first quarter fiscal data released today shows a rather narrow deficit. Tell us more about that.
Right. According to the Ministry of Economy and Finance, the managed fiscal balance, which indicates the government's actual fiscal state, posted a deficit of 39.6 trillion won in the first quarter. While still a deficit, this is an improvement of 21.7 trillion won compared to a year ago, making it the narrowest first quarter deficit in 6 years. This was driven by a massive increase in total revenue, which reached 188.8 trillion won. A closer look reveals that income tax revenue rose by 4.7 trillion won, fueled directly by increased performance bonuses for employees at semiconductor giants like Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, along with other industries and government policies. But bonuses are important because a big portion of the bonuses are taxed. However, experts point out that relying so heavily in just one sector creates a dangerous optical illusion for the broader economy. Take a listen.
Because of companies in a small number of industries, it looks like our economy is doing well and recovering. But in some ways, this is a severe polarization. The industries that are struggling are simply continuing to struggle. So while we can't say it's strictly just semiconductors, it is true that this is limited to a few industries and a few companies.
Essentially, while the headline numbers and government coffers look phenomenal thanks to chips, other sectors of the domestic economy are still struggling, meaning the wealth is not trickling down evenly.
Now, Do-yeon, you mentioned the performances, bonuses as semiconductor companies boosting national tax revenues. But ironically, at the same time, those bonuses are currently the source of a dispute at Samsung Electronics. What is the latest on that conflict?
Right, the situation at Samsung Electronics is reaching a critical point as the gap between labor and management remains wide. The union is specifically demanding that the company institutionalizes a fixed performance bonus of 15% of its operating profit for the semiconductor division. They're also calling for the removal of the current cap on bonuses, which is currently set at 50% of an employee's annual salary. Management, however, is standing firm on maintaining its existing incentive system based on economic value added, though it has proposed additional special rewards for the semiconductor unit. Following the breakdown of negotiations early Wednesday, May 13th, the union has set a firm deadline. They are demanding a response by 10 a.m. tomorrow, May 15th. If these conditions are not met, the union plans to launch a general strike from May 21st to June 7th. The government has been closely watching the situation because, as we saw, it directly affects the nation's fiscal policy. Deputy Prime Minister for Economy and Finance Koo Yoon-chul warned today that a strike would pose a significant risk to the country's overall growth and exports, urging a swift, principled resolution.
Well, we'll have to see how the management and the union will how they will navigate this standoff. Toyan, thank you for the analysis.
Well, thank you for having me.
President Lee Jae-myung has called for the global expansion of Korea's Saemaul Undong. Now, the call came on this Thursday during his visit to the Korea Saemaul Undong Center, a nonprofit organization that oversees development projects both at home and abroad. Launched in 1970, the movement sought to modernize the rural parts of the country. The government provided training and materials, while local residents took up labor to build infrastructure such as roads and bridges. The movement gained international recognition as a successful model for sustainable development, with its archives added to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register in 2013. On the political front, candidate registration has begun for the June 3rd local elections. Our An Sang-jin covers this process and the lineup thus far.
With less than 3 weeks left, local elections are entering a decisive phase here in Korea as candidates move from preliminary campaigning to officially registering to run for office. Contenders now formally join the race through the official registration process from May 14th and 15th, leaving around 20 days till the vote. Now let's take a closer look at some of the finalized candidate lineups for the 16 metropolitan mayoral and gubernatorial races. Starting with Seoul, one of the country's key battlegrounds, the capital has taken shape as a two-way contest between the DP's candidate Chung Won-ho and the incumbent Mayor Oh Se-hoon of the PPP. Now, if you look over here in the side in Gyeonggi-do province, Korea's most populous province with roughly 13 million residents, the gubernatorial race is set to make history with the DP's Choo Mi-ae and the PPP's Yang Hyang-ja marking the first female head-to-head race for a metropolitan governor position. Now, a tendency we see in the candidate lineup for this election is that the main opposition PPP has named most of its incumbent figures. If we see over here, all four PPP candidates in the Gangwon-do and Chungcheong-do regions, which normally act as a casting vote area, are either current mayors or governors. Similarly, the traditional conservative Gyeongsang-do region, another major battleground, has 4 out of 5 of its candidates as current heads, as the PPP seeks to defend its regional base and strongholds through high-profile figures, and as the ruling party attempts to make inroads. With these candidates and their strong ambitions, how have the ruling and opposition parties been unveiling their competing election strategies? The ruling Democratic Party is framing its main goal around regional economic development by establishing mega special districts focused on advanced industries such as robotics and biotechnology, offering companies tax incentives. The DP is also promoting a series of welfare-focused pledges, including climate insurance programs, help centers for the elderly, and other community-oriented proposals. The main opposition People Power Party is centering its campaign on housing and solving cost of living issues, such as a housing program that would expand long-term rental contracts and transportation subsidies. It also unveiled policies targeting investment for scientific research and small businesses. Official campaigning will begin on May 21st, with candidates taking part in street rallies and televised debates. Early voting is scheduled for May 29th and 30th, while the main election will take place on June 3rd. As the campaign season is now fully underway, attention is turning to which party can deliver the most persuasive policies and messages in the upcoming local election battle. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
BTS is set to perform at the 2026 FIFA World Cup final halftime show alongside global pop stars Madonna and Shakira. According to FIFA, BTS will co-headline the first ever World Cup final halftime show set to take place at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on July 19th. Curated by Coldplay frontman Chris Martin and advocacy organization Global Citizen, the halftime show aims to support the FIFA Global Citizen Education Fund and expanding access to education and sports opportunities for children around the world. And BTS said in a statement released by its agency Big Hit Music that it will be a great honor to stand on such a meaningful stage where the whole world comes together. As the spring nights settle over Seoul City, Gyeongbokgung Palace is once again opening its gates for its limited seasonal evening tours, offering visitors a rare glimpse into Korea's royal past beneath the tranquil night sky. Our culture correspondent Jo Young-eun takes us there.
As the sun sets over the city, Gyeongbokgung Palace begins to glow beneath the spring night sky. Passing through Gwanghwamun Gate, the sounds of the city soften into a peaceful landscape where history, nature, and the beauty of Korea's royal architecture come together. Wearing colorful hanbok, visitors wander around the illuminated palace grounds, creating unforgettable memories beneath the gentle lights of the palace.
We were thinking about what to do for our 500th day anniversary. And then we heard that Gyeongbokgung Palace was opening at night, so we decided to come here together. There were so many hanbok rental shops nearby, and my girlfriend likes pink colors, so we chose matching outfits in this style.
My sister made the reservation, so I came here right after work. Since it's spring and the weather is so nice, seeing the lanterns and everything with my child is creating such a wonderful memory.
As the night falls, visitors can see landmarks like Kunjeongjeon Hall and the Gyeonghaeru Pavilion from a new perspective. Along the quiet palace path, the architecture and shimmering reflections across the water create a calm and breathtaking atmosphere. Further inside, visitors can also step into parts of the palace that are usually off limits, like Gyotaejeon Hall, once the queen's living quarters, offering a rare glimpse into royal life during the Joseon dynasty. This is Kunjeongjeon Hall, the grandest and most iconic part of Gyeongbokgung Palace and its main attraction. Seeing the palace lit by beautiful night illuminations in the heart of Seoul, it feels like taking a journey back in time through the 500-year history of Joseon dynasty. The Gyeongbokgung Palace night opening invites visitors to the royal palace after dark through June 14. Only 3,300 guests each evening can step into this nighttime journey, with an admission fee of 3,000 won, while children under 6, seniors aged 65 and older, and visitors dressed in hanbok can enter free of charge.
It's a cool experience of taking pictures, just wandering around the palace because it's a really nice historical site of South Korea, and we're just having fun.
The nighttime opening will become even richer with performances of traditional court music beginning Friday, including a special performance commemorating the birth of King Sejong the Great. The Korea Heritage Service says it will continue developing programs to help the public better appreciate the historical value and the beauty of the nation's royal palaces. Jo Young-eun, Arirang News.
The unseasonable heat will continue tomorrow, but with large day-to-night temperature swings of around 15 degrees Celsius, it's a good idea to keep a light jacket handy. This unusually warm weather is expected to last into early next week. Especially in the western regions, daytime highs will reach near 30 degrees Celsius. Still, the air remains fairly dry so that it won't feel as muggy as typical summer weather. Skies will be mostly clear across the country tomorrow, with UV levels reaching very high levels. And with strong sunshine heating things up, ozone concentrations are expected to rise in the afternoon, especially across the capital area and Chungcheongdo provinces. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 17 degrees, Chuncheon at 13 degrees, Gwangju at 15 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 31 degrees, Daejeon at 30 degrees, Busan at 23 degrees. Looking ahead, highs above 30 degrees will continue for now. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.